The League of Nations, which came into existence in 1920, was the first global international organization with the goal of maintaining peace and promoting cooperation. Its key achievements and innovative approaches made it the great predecessor of the United Nations. The League's archives were transferred to the United Nations in 1946. The archives are used by an international community of researchers working on the history of contemporary multilateralism. They're also essential to helping UN staff and diplomats understand today's multilateralism. In 2017, through a generous donation from a private Swiss foundation, the Institutional Memory section of the UN Library Archives Geneva launched a major 5-year project to digitize the entire League of Nations archives. The goal? To ensure digital and physical preservation and state-of-the-art free online access to this archival documentation.
Ce qu'on éprouve d'abord quand on apprend une telle nouvelle, c'est de la joie et de la fierté de pouvoir enfin mener à bien un projet dont on rêvait depuis longtemps, qui paraissait un peu inaccessible. Mais en même temps, sentiment de grande responsabilité et de gros défis à relever, parce que déjà de par l'échelle du projet, 3 km linéaires, 14 millions de pages, c'est un projet qui se pense et qui s'imagine. L'idée, c'était au départ de prendre le temps de penser le projet, de réfléchir, et puis de s'associer une équipe pour mener à bien cette réflexion d'abord, et puis après mener à bien le projet, donc une équipe de gestion du projet avec des talents complémentaires.
We started really by using previous smaller scale digitization projects that we had done within the archives and divided the operations really into 3 main phases, so into pre-digitization activities, scanning or digitization work, and then post-digitization. And then we also looked at all the different tasks and sorted them into each phase. We also then decided to run each of those phases concurrently, which we thought would shorten the project as much as possible, while also realizing that this could create some risk with operations and by creating bottlenecks. But we thought that was worth it, and that we could resolve any issues that might come up. We also decided to take the decision to have the scanning done on site, but by an outsourced contractor.
One of the project's critical elements was the need for 2 specific IT systems. The first, a digital preservation system, to ensure that all the digital content created, some 250 terabytes, would be accessible long after the project was finished. And second, an archives management system, to index and provide online access to users.
The digital preservation system is really the key to ensuring access to the digitized collection over the long term, to guarantee that despite possible future changes in file formats or the risk of degradation of the digital content, it will help us to preserve and give access to the digital content. The archives management system led us to organize and describe the data about the collection, while also providing the final platform where the users can search for and find the information they need.
And, as with any project of such scale, a huge amount of administrative support was needed.
We started by providing a recruitment and HR management of the operations team, as well as procurement for the scanning contractor and archival supplies.
The LONTAD project was very unique in that it represents over 20 different countries, speaks over 15 different languages, and brings working experience from libraries and archives from all over the globe.
I'm Denise Monteiro de Souza. I'm from Brazil.
Je viens du Sénégal et je m'appelle Hamad Diallo.
My name is Mizuki Kojima. I'm from Japan. My name is Anastasia and I am from Kazakhstan.
I'm Melanie and I'm from Canada.
We also brought in some external partners to help with some specific technical training, notably with the Bibliothèque de Genève, who came in to do some conservation and preservation training that was really critical at the start of the project.
I function as a focal point for all activities related to quality control, including corrections. I assign weekly tasks and I monitor and evaluate performance. I also conduct trainings for new staff and interns.
And I was working as archives management analyst for the LONTAD project.
I mostly worked on the post-digitization tasks such as quality control and the metadata creation.
En tant qu'archiviste, je fais la description des dossiers d'archives et je coordonne aussi des sous-projets comme le projet Carte Index que j'ai accordé pendant 6 mois.
Some of the work we typically do involves quality control, which is checking that the information gleaned from the physical files is the same as the information in the digital files.
You know, people coming from all different backgrounds and different nationalities working together for a common goal. And that's what I feel inside of this project, a very collaborative group of people.
After almost a year of planning, administrative work and procurement, operations were ready to begin in early 2018. But new questions arose. How to, again, manage the overall scale of the project? How do we scale up processes to build efficiency while also ensuring care and attention to detail? How do we keep track of everything?
So there was quite a bit of pressure, particularly initially, but also throughout the project, just to get things right as early as we could, because once we sort of had this big machine, this project rolling, errors could get magnified essentially, and it would be quite difficult to change or to make corrections once the machine was operating. So there was really quite a bit of pressure to try to get things correct as soon as we could and as early on in the project as we could.
There was a continuous need to collect and analyze data, monitor and evaluate all the activities of the projects, keeping track of time and objectives such as quality, quantity, budget, procurement, management of risks and changes, and lessons learned for future projects.
The project was obviously archival in nature, but the work that we were doing was quite broad and it branched out into different fields. And because of that, we had to be fluid with the way that we were engaging with monitoring and evaluation in order to maintain a certain level of productivity so that we could achieve the project's objectives, obviously. For example, one of the things that we did, we were very flexible with the tasks between the pre and the post-digitization teams. And that way the teams functioned independently, but at the end of the day, they came together as a whole.
I believe I am in a privileged part of the project because my task is right in the middle. So I have to be in touch with the people from the pre-digitization, so the people who prepare the document to be controlled, and then also the people with the post-digitization with the description.
If someone had a certain problem or stumbled upon any problem, the other team members jumped in immediately to help these colleagues. So that kind of agility and flexibility in the team worked really wonders, I think.
Partageons des moments de joie, de peine, de défis. Donc pour moi, c'était une famille.
Yeah, so one of the unique aspects of this project is the comprehensive nature of the work. So typically an archives might have to do only a selection of documents that they're able to digitize simply because of the lack of resources. Doing digitization is quite resource intensive, but here we really had the opportunity to digitize the archives in its entirety. However, that also brings a few risks, in particular the loss of context of any single document, and we really had to ensure we had processes in place to capture and preserve that context so that researchers could use that later on.
To me, the most interesting and rewarding part is to find documents that were written by famous people, such as Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Thomas Mann, and many others. I've once seen the signature of King George. That was very exciting for me.
These kinds of archives really give me images of people's daily lives in the 1920s through 1940s.
Certainly during any project of this size you'll run into unexpected challenges, and we certainly did find some. It could be anything from sort of managing the different production rates of preparation versus scanning and how to overcome and balance those issues. We also ran into specific challenges with preservation of individual documents or how to scan certain documents if they were rather complex, and all those kinds of daily challenges.
The challenges presented by COVID really forced us to take a step back and view the project from a different lens. Subsequently, we were able to create a new hybrid working plan where we were able to minimize the physical presence of our staff, but also safely continue day-to-day operations.
La partie la plus difficile du projet a été d'être résilient pendant la COVID-19. Heureusement que ça l'a été parce que tout simplement la production du travail a continué malgré qu'on était tous à la maison et qu'il n'y a pas eu de rupture dans le cadre de toutes les actions du projet.
But thankfully, we had a large number of digitized material that we could work from home. And also we learned each other tasks, which helped us to be a backup for our colleagues. And it was nice to listen to Colin in the morning. He would say, morning campers, and that really put a smile on my face, even that we were facing a sanitary crisis.
COVID was not the most difficult part, in my opinion. The most difficult part, in my opinion, was that a lot of tasks that we do as a part of the project are very repetitive. So you get tired and demotivated quite fast. And in order to make sure that you're doing your job correctly, it's important to have side projects and something that you can work on as a part of your day-to-day routine, as it helps you to relax a little bit from your main task, but also gives you an opportunity to show yourself as something more, that you can do more things.
There were challenges, yet the team stayed on track, found its rhythm, and soon began crossing some major milestones. 1,000 boxes prepared, 1 million pages scanned, and the first sections of records available online. In 2022, after 5 years of continuous effort, the project was finalized.
So the project has now produced almost 250 terabytes of data, and we've also created almost 250,000 units of descriptive metadata. And really, we've now achieved the digitization of the League of Nations archives, and the vast majority of that material is available online.
We develop an interface, so the files which are stored in the digital preservation system are linked to the metadata in the archives management system, which we think provides the most cost-effective solution and the best combination of use and search capacity, along with store and preserve the digital content.
We've also now preserved all of the physical originals. They're now housed according to modern archival standards. And it's also really important, even though we have now this massive digital collection, that we ensure the preservation of the originals for a few reasons. One is that it's always important to have those physical originals due not just to their intrinsic value, but also in case there's sort of new things that can be learned from them as sort of evidentiary objects. And also the fact that digital content is simply much more fragile than analog content. So we can store things, physical documents, for much longer, for much cheaper than we ever could store digital objects for the long term.
14,2 millions de pages en ligne sur la plateforme d'accès aux archives des Nations Unies à Genève. Avec un petit peu de recul, donc nous pouvons voir déjà première constatation, le volume de recherche a explosé. On avait environ 150 personnes par année qui venaient consulter ces archives sur place, puisqu'il n'y avait pas d'autres moyens. En moins de 6 mois, nous en sommes maintenant à 34 000 utilisateurs différents.
What is interesting with the League of Nations Archives is that it was an institution that covered an important part of the globe. And it's one of the foundation of the current world order. So it's only natural to make its archives widely available. That will be very useful for the students, for the colleagues that cannot afford a trip to Geneva, etc.
Une autre constatation, c'est aussi une recherche, bien sûr académique, mais aussi une recherche auquel on avait moins pensé, qui était une recherche plus familiale sur l'histoire d'individus, notamment des réfugiés, bien sûr avec le fonds Nansen pour les réfugiés, et aussi l'histoire d'anciens fonctionnaires. Là, on a une petite histoire assez touchante. On a eu un retour de la famille d'un fonctionnaire de la SDN qui avait été envoyé en mission en Chine et qui est décédé en Chine pendant sa mission. Et sa famille ne connaissait pas très bien les circonstances de ce décès. Et grâce à l'accès en ligne, ils ont pu consulter les dossiers et donc connaître mieux l'histoire de cette personne et de leur famille.
Another big opportunity that the digitization of the League Archives provides is in the realm of digital humanities. So digital humanities is really using digital tools and software and methodologies to look at collections or data sets really in ways that weren't possible before.
With this kind of massive archive, what is really interesting is the global overview that is allowed by this kind of massive panorama of data. The challenge is no longer to find the right keyword, to find the right document, but more to find the strategy to dig into all these archives and to find the patterns and to find the big picture that is behind the League of Nations. And of course, the digitization will help us because now with digital tools we can make some text mining to extract words and groups of words, and of course make named entity recognition so that we can extract the names of people, names of places, countries, and so on. To work with topic modeling to try to automatize the extraction of themes in the text. To work with network analysis to group documents that are linked to each other, and of course to connect all these entities, all these names, all these dates and places and themes to other digital databases so that we can have a full working environment around the League of Nations.
So we've demonstrated clearly the capacity of the organization to deliver large flagship projects on budget, on time, while meeting all of the key objectives. And I think we've also demonstrated the capacity of the organization and staff members to really adapt and to find innovative solutions to difficult technical problems, both digitally and with managing things like archives and information sources.
Et puis nous avons développé une expertise dans le domaine de la numérisation d'archives historiques qui est reconnue par nos pairs, par nos collègues d'autres organisations internationales ou locales qui nous contactent pour pouvoir bénéficier de nos conseils dans leur mise en œuvre de projets similaires.
From the point of view of our team at Library Archives, and also for UN Geneva, LONTAD is a success story. This is a large challenge that is worth embracing because it's formative. It is also a much-needed step in the use of technology for knowledge services. And multilateralism, the practice and the study of multilateralism, can benefit from more technology today. The League of Nations has influenced the way we design and operate multilateralism even today. LONTAD, with its unrestricted access, adds space and depth to the much-needed discussion on the future of multilateralism today.